Kind of neato. Okay. Neato. Yes, I just said neato. Hello friends, it's the guitar foster parent, John McLean, back with you after another long hiatus. If you're new to the channel, by the way, go check out the intro video that tells all about what we do. But basically I find old busted guitars or guitars that have been kind of abandoned and fix them up, clean them up, whatever they need, and then we find a worthy cause to give them to, whether that's an individual, an organization, or what have you. The series that we're working on right now is the Gio-Jazz series. I bought a body with electronics, basically a necklace body of a Ibanez Gio guitar. And then I sourced a brand new Fender Jazzmaster neck. So here's what those look like. This is the body after we painted it. It's a blue pearl matte, my first finished job. It's not perfect. In fact, you might even say it's not even good. However, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna sound good. And then here's the neck. In case you don't remember, this is a Jazzmaster neck, Fender Jazzmaster neck, it's brand new. And then we did some decals. I ordered some custom decals, GFP, Guitar Foster Parent, and then Gio-Jazz. So where we are now, when we're last together, is we had pulled the wiring harness out of the old pickguard, which we're tossing because it's damaged and cheap and thin. I bought a nice triple ply black pickguard for the, it's an HSS arrangement with 2 pots. This pickguard, by the way, was not all that easy to find, but I did finally find a place that had one. Wasn't a perfect fit. I had to re-drill some of these holes, but it won't show because it'll cover the old holes, so it'll be fine. And then the only electronics that we're replacing is replacing a dirty humbucker with a new Epiphone pull-off humbucker. This is one that I got from a gentleman, I think on eBay. It's used, it's got some marks on it, but he says it's a really good one. I love Epiphone electronics. I've had really good luck with them. So we're gonna put this in with the original single coils, and we're gonna convert everything to black because it used to be white. So we're gonna have black pickups and screws and everything on the guitar. The only chrome pieces left will be the bridge, which is the original bridge. I was not able to find a black bridge for this guitar, mainly because this guitar, if you look, has a very strange, it's a 3x3 hole arrangement instead of just the 6 evens, and it was really hard to find a bridge. And the bridge is actually in really good shape. It's a tremolo bridge, so we're gonna use that again. And then so it won't be the only chrome piece on the guitar. I'm gonna put a chrome input jack on it so that we'll have a little chrome, mostly black. Should be a nice look. So that's where we are right now. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just wire this 2-wire humbucker into our harness, and we're just gonna wire it into the existing harness. I'm gonna make this easy on myself. And then once that's done, we can start getting everything installed back onto our pickguard. So here we go. By the way, I should mention that we are going to be donating the Gio-Jazz guitar. I've made a decision on that. And I want to thank all of you that have written in with suggestions on who could be the recipient of the guitar. What I've decided to do with this guitar is I'm going to donate the Gio-Jazz guitar when it's done to a charity auction at my church for Cinco de Mayo. So what our youth group does is they hold a really cool event on Cinco de Mayo. They serve Mexican food to the parish, and they hold a silent auction and also a live auction. I'm gonna put the guitar in either the silent or the live auction. I'm gonna talk to the youth director and find out what would make the most sense. And then we're going to, this will be raising money for our youth group for their various ministry activities throughout the year. So that's what we're gonna do with this guitar. Don't worry, I've got more projects coming. Other than that, let's get started and hit the workbench. So the first step is going to be to take our nippers, and I want to do this too close. I can always cut. And this pickup, by the way, I don't know if it works or not. The guy I bought this derelict body from said that the last time it had a neck on it, all the electronics worked. I took his word for it, and everything did look pretty clean in here. The main reason why I'm deciding to replace this humbucker, by the way, is because it's really dirty. It looks like it's had something spilled on it over here. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I thought it might be fun to just put a different pickup in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself some room here, but I'm not going to cut too much off of this because this pickup might be able to be reused on another project sometime if it works. So I'm going to cut right about here. That'll give me plenty of wire to work with on my harness. And then it will give me, there we go. And then it'll give me enough pigtail on here to use on a future project. So this goes in the hardware bin. And now I'm going to go ahead and remove this insulation. I might be able to slide it off, although I'm dubious as to the possibility of that. So I think what I'd rather do, instead of pulling all of it off, is just pull some of it off so I have some wire to work with, if that makes sense. So we'll pull out a hobby knife and we'll very carefully do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hobby blade and I'm going to divide up, split this insulation right here so I can get at these wires, but I'm not going to take it all off. By the way, if you hear a whining dog or you think you do, you do. One thing that happened since we were together last is our dog Tucker passed away. He was the studio dog, faithful companion. He lived a long life. He ended up getting cancer, and we had to let him go. And so now we have Bogey, who is another Cocker Spaniel. Same color as Tucker. Tucker was an English Cocker, and Bogey is not. Bogey is a American Cocker, so he's smaller. He has a different shaped face, but he's 9 months old now, almost 10 months. He'll be 10 months next week, as a matter of fact. Time flies. But he's a good boy, and we love him. We miss Tucker a lot, but he's learning the ropes, because being a studio dog's not easy, especially when you're a puppy, because there's times when you got to be quiet, and he's learned that. It took him some time, but he's learned it. So when I do my audiobooks, especially, he's been especially good. All right, so back to the work at hand here. I'm trying to keep my big fingers out of your way. All right, so I've got this opened up here, and there's ground wire is just kind of loose, and so I've cut through some of those strands. That's not a huge deal, but you want to have enough to still connect to. All right, so next step is we're going to go ahead and connect these, and we will do it with solder, which is the right way to do it. We'll strip these teensy tiny little wires. You can see I lost some ground braid material here. That's fine. There's still plenty. Just the hobby knife cut through it on the ends, but there's still plenty. We'll get in there and make sure it's grounded really good. We'll solder that together. We'll be ready to put this back into the pickguard. One note, by the way, the input jack, the way these Gios are designed, the input jack has to be done last. You have to route these wires down and do the input jack once the pickguard is back in the guitar. It's not like some guitars where you can do it all at the same time. So this goes to the input jack. That'll have to wait. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so we've got our soldering station set up using the helping hands, which is to me is a must, and my soldering gun. So for now, I'm going to solder this connection here. Try to. Okay, so we may have just a little more to go there. I think we are connected. Let's give it a little. Yeah. Okay, good. Now I'll set this baby aside. It's nice and hot. All right, so now we're going to release these wires because they are connected. And now we're going to switch it up and now connect the grounds. Okay. And now ooh, there we go. But I think we got her that time. Okay, turn the soldering gun off. Set it over here where it's out of the way. And now we'll let this dry a little bit, or let it cool rather. But that should be it. We'll be ready to start loading stuff back into the pickguard. All right, so we've got our new humbucker attached. We've got our single coils, which we left as is. It's time to take our pick guard, and we're going to begin installing this hardware inside the pick guard. Now, this pick guard has a plastic coating on the top of it for, to protect it. We'll leave that on because we're going to have it upside down. But let's just kind of walk through this and just kind of place it and see how this is all going to come about. So obviously our humbucker will go here, right? And then our single coil pickups, and you can tell which one's which because of the one wire's longer than the other. These will mount here, all right? And then bring all this down. Our switch will mount in here, like so. And then our two pots will mount in these holes like this, see? That's how that works. So I think the first thing we're going to do, because they're heavy and I don't want them hanging by the wires, is we're going to go ahead and work on getting these pickups mounted into the pick guard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this wiring out of the way, and we'll just focus on the pickups for now. And let's go ahead and do the humbucker first. And so we have hardware that came with it, but we're going to do black screws because I want everything to be black on top. So I have in my possession a set, you can get all this stuff on Amazon, or most of it, of guitar screws that are black. And so what I'm going to do, put these where you can see them. We'll keep the springs. Springs aren't going to show. And so the springs will keep. So we'll separate this little kit. In fact, we'll go ahead and drop these on the magnet to keep them from rolling away here. It's a great thing about pickups, they're magnetic. So we're going to find some humbucking pickup screws. And here we go. 2 black pickup screws. Now they're not identical. And so what I want to do is make sure that these fit by giving them a quick threading. And looky there, they do. Okay? So we're going to put these screws aside to potentially use for another project, because there's nothing wrong with them. They're just not the color we want. And then the springs we'll keep, because the springs I think are pretty important. We'll keep the springs, and then we'll begin to mount these pickups. So the way this works is, of course, is you turn the guitar, or the pick guard, it's not really a guitar yet, thread the screw through the pick guard first. And these screws are a little big for these holes. Interesting. Did not anticipate that. And so probably going to need to widen these holes a little bit. Instead of a drill, I'm going to use a file. So I've got a file set down in here. Set of various files. So I'm going to find a round one. There's one. And then I'm just going to kind of work to widen, get the right one. May not have to do the other ones. And so see, I'm just going to turn this back and forth and just kind of gently widen this hole out. Okay, well, I just spared you the agony of watching me do that, but basically I just bored out these holes with this little round file here. And I thought to check the other ones. The single coil pickups use a different kind of screw. And these holes were also too small. So I took the new black screws I bought for the single coils and I bored out all 6 holes. So we should be good to go ahead and put the pickups back in. So I'm going to put these files over here to the side. Came in handy. Those little files are handy to have. All right, so let's flip her back over its back. Place our pickup. Actually, the best way to do this is put the screws in first. And see, now they just slide right in. And they need to be able to do that because if you can't thread them into the plastic, because if you do, the pickup won't adjust right. Okay. springs on them like that. And then this is kind of the tricky part. You've got to thread both of these screws and so we're going to kind of turn it up on its side. Do one, and then the other. Just get it started. There. Okay, this actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And turn this one up. And so poke enough with a screw, compress the spring a little to where you can get your fingers on the screw. And then, there we go. You want to be careful not to put too much stress on the pickguard too while you're doing this. Yeah, this one's a little more stubborn than the other one was. There it goes. Okay, beautiful. So now it's on there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn these screws and compress those springs until the pickup lifts into place. And so we'll do this. We're going to be pretty careful here because these screws are painted black and I don't want to dork them up too much. Pickup height adjustment. There's an art to that. It affects tone and different volume, different things. When we get to that, well, of course we'll have to get the neck on it and some strings on it, which is pretty exciting. We're not too far away from that. I'm going to kind of eyeball this for now. And that looks pretty good. Okay. And so it's in place. Okay. Same story with the single coils. So let's turn her back over. And the longer wire, it should be pretty obvious, but we'll kind of do it the right way. We'll set everything where it's going to be, about like that. So obviously the shorter wire is going to be for this one. The longer wire will be for that one. All right, just like that. So the springs, I have 4 black screws for these black pickups. And oh, before I forget, we bought black covers to go over these because you want to cover that. Found them. So I ordered a little kit from True Custom Shop that has we'll only need 2 of these top hats for this guitar, and of course we'll only need 2 of these because it has a humbucker. But we'll go ahead and open this package up. And we'll need a tone and a volume. So we'll set those aside. And then these parts we can save for another project some other time. Ordinarily for a Strat, this would have everything you need, but this is not a Strat. Oh, and also it has the little switch cover, or little switch, what do you call that? Knob, I guess. Decorative knob. So we'll need that as well, so we'll set it aside. But these covers will go on these pickups. So we'll do the inside one first, and they just snap on like that. Bingo. Give it a nice clean look. All right, now, same story here. We're going to reuse the original springs from these single coils. And these springs are these conical that I typically find, if you can see that. These are the springs you typically use for a single coil pickup. So we'll go ahead and thread the screws in first. All right. And I already bored these holes out so these screws would thread in. And then these springs will actually go like this because they'll show otherwise if you don't. So they go like that. Okay? Same idea. We got to thread these screws and get them through the little holes and on down into this base plate. That's where they're going to wind up going. So we're going to turn this on its end here and start working on that. Yes, I'm starting over because the thing popped out on me. Okay. So this is kind of more what I expected it to be like. Kind of frustrating. But it's all good. All right, let's see, get all this untangled here. We don't want, there we go. All right, this is gonna go in like this, right? So, I can see the screw has gone through. And so now it's just a matter of, these hopefully won't be too stubborn. I may use a screwdriver to kind of guide me because there's not much room for my fingers on these. But it feels like, yeah, okay, good. We're threaded on that one. Now, same story here. Set the spring. And make sure you're through, and we are. And it's hard to see because everything's black. But a lot of this will be just by feel, you know. Oh yeah, I can feel it. All right, there we go. Okay, so it's in. So now, same story. We're going to take our screwdriver and we're going to get to where this pickup's riding up in here. And we'll have to go a little at a time so that it doesn't bind up as it's coming through. Get these about even. That's pretty good. That's probably a little high actually, but we'll see. And then, oh, that's a lock washer. Okay. And then finally, same story now with the last pickup. Get her mounted in. And so put our cover on, like so. And then our last two pickup screws with the reused cone springs. Boom. And there it goes. Beautiful. Okay. Now, cover, poke the screw on in. Oh yeah, it's already going in. Beautiful. Okay, that wasn't bad at all. Okay, so now you've got your pickup and your cover. Not really lined up very well, is it? In fact, that's not lined up at all. Why doesn't that fit? That's really weird. Look at this. The magnets on this pickup are spaced differently. Interesting. Why would that be? Send me an email if you know, because I have no idea why that would be. Why would they do that? All right, so now I've got to think. I can't leave it like that. Okay, I have an idea. What I could do is I could modify the cover by cutting the holes out. So in other words, I'll probably do this with a hobby knife and some sandpaper. Cut and just make a slot here because these pickups are black on the face. The only reason I really got these covers is to give them a clean look around the edges. But if I could do that, we could maintain our proper magnet spacing without messing this up. I didn't anticipate that. That's interesting. I don't know why that is. The string spacing shouldn't be that much different, should it? Maybe it is. Are all Strats that way? I've got a Strat sitting back here on the floor. I don't know. But obviously I'm going to have to modify this cover, so we're going to have to pull this back off. You know what? I had a thought just now. If all Strats are that way, then this kit, the third cover that I'm using, might be different. I don't know that it is. Okay, so that's the one we just took off. No, it isn't. That's crazy. This Gio guitar has a weird pickup. So here's what we're going to do. Friends and neighbors, I think the best idea is to remove the holes and just cut this in two lines so that you just have a smooth slot. These magnets, because the outer ones will fit in the slot easily, so I just need to remove these inner holes. So let's set our project aside here gently with our springs. This, by the way, goes to one of the pots, so we'll set it over here as well. And then we're going to pivot, get our hobby knives out, and we'll go to work on this. All right, for this, I'm going to use this. It's kind of 45-degree blade here. And I'm just going to come down here and I'm just going to score this inside of the cover. That way, if I slip and scratch, I won't damage the outside. So, and I'm also going to try not to cut myself. So, this is going to be impossible to see on the video. So we'll be back and I'll show you what I've done. Okay, so here we go. Now, obviously that's kind of rough, but all I did was I just pressed down and I rocked the blade slightly until they popped these little things out. So now I'm going to go in and try to make these lines as smooth and clean as possible. So I'll probably use a hobby knife to carve down, and I won't use this blade, I'll use a different one. Probably this guy right here would be better, give me more of a point. And then I'll just shave down this way and then probably take some sandpaper to clean it up. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if you've ever done any whittling before. Sitting on the porch, smoking a pipe, doing some whittling. That's really what that was like, but look what we got. We got a really nice result. Just these hobby knives are so sharp that you can, and so precise that you can just take little thin layers, you can see here, of matter and just curl it off until it gets smooth. So now I'm going to do, obviously these ends were challenging and I don't want to, square them off. So I'm going to take a little sandpaper and clean those up. And this should be ready to go. That was not nearly as bad as I thought, but it just goes to show you, this may be too fine a grit. It just goes to show you though, that, sometimes you run into stuff with these guitars that, you didn't anticipate, I didn't know, and I have to do some research. Obviously, all Strats aren't this way because this is a Strat kit, a Strat accessory kit. If all Strats had that different pickup configuration, then one of these covers would obviously be configured for that one pickup. So this is a Jazz Gio thing, or Ibanez Gio thing. Yeah, that's fantastic. That looks good. Okay, we're gonna call that good. Okay, so now kind of clean up our work area a little bit here. Put our sharp away. That worked beautifully. You should always have a set of hobby knives in your work area. They're so handy. They're also quite dangerous, but you got to be careful with them, but they're really handy. All right, so back to our hero. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. In fact, it's kind of got a steampunk, industrial kind of look. I'm not really sure what steampunk means. I'll just admit that to you now. Yeah, that's really interesting how that happened. And in fact, before we got them threaded, here's the original covers I took off of the guitar. And yeah, they're different. They're totally different. Look at that. I don't know why that is. That's interesting. It's obviously on purpose. Okay, yeah, look at that. That actually looks sort of cool. Not bad, right? You see that? Is there glare on there? Here, get in close. Look at that. It looks kind of neato. Okay. Neato. Yes, I just said neato. All right. Enough self-admiring. Now, let's get the rest of this bad boy in here. Get our wires out of the way. I think the next step would be to go ahead and get this switch back in so that I can see what I'm doing. Using this little file again. Pretty handy tool. There we go. The foil is for shielding, to shield electrical noise. And what I do with all of my guitars, and we'll do that with this one, is I use copper shielding tape and I shield the entire inside of the cavity of the body. So here's the body. I'll be putting copper shielding tape all inside here to help with this very thing. It's overkill, but it kind of makes me feel better. All right, so the original screws for the switch are these, but those are the wrong color. So I'm going to get out my little black screw kit selector switch. Okay. And there they are. Dude, they gave me 50 of them. I could do 25 guitars. All right. Selector switch goes in. All right. Finally, and because of the length of the wires, it's pretty obvious which pot is which. But basically these pots are going to feed right in through the pickguard like that. And come out right there. All right. All right. Now this hardware is not going to show. So you don't really need to worry about the color of it. Just thread these on finger tight like that. Same story over here. Whoops. Washer. But that gives you an idea. I'll just set these on here. Looks pretty good, right? So there we go. I think we're done for the day. What a comeback, right? We finally got our pickguard wired up. Here's what she looks like. And of course, we'll have the black top hats on there when we get ready to do that, and the nice little knob for the selector switch. I'll make sure nothing is shorting. That's a visual inspection. Anything that is, we'll tape off. We'll isolate so that it can't. Let me look at my list here. Next time, it'll be time to do the input jack. So I'm going to put a new input jack in the guitar, and then that's what these two long wires go to. It goes down rather than a typical Strat, which normally, typical Strat, your input jack is right here. This one's obviously not. This one has more of a Les Paul style where it goes down here. And so the wires will come down here and we'll get the input jack soldered in once the pickguard is installed. So that'll kind of be a last minute. It's kind of tricky. I really prefer the other way, but this is how this is designed, so we'll figure it out. And then the ground wire, which is this guy right here, will feed down through this hole right here and down into the back where it connects to the tremolo assembly. There's a copper plate that holds the springs. We'll show you that all to you when we get to it. And that's where the ground wire attaches to. It's so good to be back on the Guitar Foster Parent. If you would like me to send you some free decals and guitar picks from the channel, I'd be happy to do that. Just email me your mailing address. I promise as soon as I drop it in the mail, I'll throw it away. It's all free of charge. I just want you to help me promote the channel and give you some, the picks are actually pretty good. People are picky about their picks, but they're actually pretty good. So yeah, that's all. Good to have you back. It's good to be back. Won't be as long next time, I promise, when we'll get back, and this Gio-Jazz guitar is pretty close. I can't wait to see it finished. Bye-bye for now on the Guitar Foster Parent.